Good morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to the Today's Restaurant News Networking Group. I'm Howard Appel. I'm the founder and publisher of Today's Restaurant News. We are a group of vendors in the restaurant industry who are here to help each other grow our businesses and also to assist any restaurant owner, manager, or chef with any issues they may have. Our hundreds of years of combined experience is a great asset to the industry. If you'd like to get a hold of us or attend one of the meetings, give us a call at 561 620 8888 or go to our website at trnusa.com. And if you'd like to see the videos that we have on our YouTube channel, you can access that through our website as well at trnusa.com. Okay, officially, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So we have Steve Whitehill today is going to do a presentation on his company, and then after that we'll do our intros, and if we have time, we'll discuss the topic we were talking about prior to coming on board, which was about tariffs. So let's start out with Steve. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
Let me
right.
share
You
my
get your,
screen.
hold on. I'm sure it is, but
Okay.
you got it. So Steve Whitehill of
Here
Anchor
we
Business.
are. Okay, start sharing. And let me go to, come on, there we are. Okay. So really, today I'm going to talk about, well, what I do is I help people buy and sell businesses. And a couple of years ago, I did a presentation at my country club, which mainly has a lot of older people. And so I decided to call it When Golf Is Not Enough, but it's really all about transforming your life through business ownership. And it's kind of an interesting process. So one of the first things that you need to do is, this is true with many people, whether it's a person on a job or a person who's retired, is recognizing that your environment, you need change. There's something wrong in the way in what's going on. And the thing you need to do is sort of identify or think about what it is that you're feeling. And I mean, it's psychological, all that kind of stuff. But the thing is, the most important thing is to recognize that there's a need and trying to figure out what it is that will solve that. So the way you go about it is you need to take time to reflect on your personal professional aspirations, understanding what you want to achieve with a guide towards making informed decisions about starting or buying a business. I mean, it's surprising how fulfilled we get about by doing that. So to do that, you really need to think about what your aspirations are, you need to think about how you're going to make an informed decision, and you got to set clear goals. By the way, did anyone notice that the handwriting on the left is in a foreign language? And to me, I think it's in Turkish, but that's something else. Anyway, understanding the impact of the work environment. Okay, so what influences your well-being? You got to assess the settings that you're in, what makes you happy. So what are your options? And there are really only two. I mean, if we're talking about business, and that's certainly what we're talking about, you either start or you buy a business. So what are the differences? There are pros and cons of both. So in starting a new business, you have creative control, but you have risks and uncertainty that are more substantial with a new business. And it requires a tremendous amount of initial effort and resources. When you buy an existing business, a lot of the problems that you will have with uh, starting a business are solved. You have immediate cash flow. You have customers that who you know or who are already coming to you and who are buying, but there may be hidden challenges. It has always fascinated me that no matter how much due diligence we do on a business, almost all the time my clients buy a business, there is always a problem that they didn't anticipate. Now, 99% of them solve those problems because fundamentally they're good business people, but there's always a hidden challenge of some sort. Now, you need to evaluate what to do. You need to evaluate your resources that are available to you, your skills, your financial resources, and the market knowledge. Although the market knowledge to me is the most interesting, it's probably more needed when you start a business than when you go into an existing business. But what fascinates me is I can't tell you the number of clients that I've had who have gone into businesses they know nothing about and succeeded. So, what are the steps in starting your own business? Oops, sorry. Hmm. Okay, you identify viable business ideas. You need to do the research of the market. You need to identify your personal skills and strengths, and you need to understand really what the customers are who you want to attract to your business. Now, sometimes when they conduct market research and things like that, it's something you have to do, but you don't, you can't do it necessarily like a Fortune 500, but you have to look around. You have to really understand who you want to
Okay, go
address,
ahead. Hello?
and you need to evaluate the competition.
Yeah.
You need to
And what they
understand
call these.
um, uh, how to go about making this business work. And you need to be able to secure funding, and you need to know how to set up the operations. So you need to know how to do the steps when you start a business, or really when you buy a business. You really need to know how to operate it. You need to make sure that you have the business skills that you need that are necessary to succeed. Steps to buying an existing business are somewhat different. You got to find a business. That's something I help you with. You need to conduct due diligence and assess viability. Viability is much easier to assess because the business is working and it has history. But due diligence is critical. And what's fascinating to me about due diligence, most people don't do a full job of due diligence. Almost everybody does a very good job or a reasonable job of looking at the financial aspects of due diligence. So they know the numbers that are being presented to you are reasonably correct. But there are all sorts of other things that are also important. Are there any claims against the business that may impact its reputation? It certainly won't impact you because these claims are of the old owner, they're not of the new owner, but that assesses its viability. It helps determine its viability. If people don't like the product, um, or something in the product has caused problems, then that's going to affect your ability to succeed. Um, Assessing financial health and business potential, we talked, that's mainly done during due diligence. Um, there are all sorts of things you can look at, key performance indicator, you review the financial statements, all that kind of good stuff. That aspect is pretty straightforward, and you have people to help you with. Now, negotiating the price and negotiating the plan of how you're going to purchase it, um, and transition. I'm going to talk about transition in a second, and maintaining customer relationships. The interesting thing is the plan for transition and maintaining customer relationships are really part of the same problem. in terms of being able to negotiate a business, what's also interesting is businesses that are way overpriced tend not to sell. And businesses that are way underpriced, somebody looks askant at them because they're indicative of maybe problems that you don't want to take on. So a business that is correctly priced, while you sometimes can negotiate, it's unusual for there to be much more than a 10% differential in that. And as a matter of fact, in today's environment, most businesses sell for full price. In terms of transition, it's really interesting. Transition and business acquisition is very simple. And if you think about it in these terms, most people don't like change. And that's true both of your customers and true of employees. So my first recommendation is not to do anything for, I really say 3 to 6. I wish it was 6 months to a year is what I'd like to say, except no one would listen to me. And if you think about it, why do you want to make changes right away? The business you're buying it because it's operating and it's working. It doesn't make it the most efficient, but it's fundamentally going the way it should be going. So why start making changes without really truly understanding what your environment is like? And if you make too many changes too quickly, and this I've seen happen, is both your customers and your employees will leave. So as a matter of fact, I tell people when they buy business, try to avoid even telling the employees um, and your customers that you're the new owner. A much better story is that you're an investor. People like positive things that go on in businesses. So an investor is a good way to look at it, and you're given some credibility. I say anything, even chief cook and bottle washer is a better thing for the environment that you're coming into than telling them the new owner. The matter of fact, the few failures that my clients have had, in fact, is breaking that rule. I tell a story about a woman that bought a salon, and she day one did something simple you wouldn't think would cause a problem, but she moved the reception desk from one side to the other, changed some signs, and those subtle little changes causes your employees to not understanding what's going on, and you're new and they don't know you, and so they get nervous. And I like to say those who can leave will, and those people who can leave are usually your best performers. So you really want to be careful about what you do, especially in the initial steps. The old guy that you're replacing may have been awful, but the employees knew how to work with him. You may be terrific, but they don't know again who you are. So again, this is really making the transition smooth, and sort of we've talked about it, but this slide is really talking about from personal nature. But the truth is, it's one of tackling the environment and going forward. And I like the last line, which is really maintaining a positive outlook, because you have to go with if you're positive, then the environment will be positive. And you build support networks, seeing mentorship. There are all sorts of tools available to you, or to seek them out and get them. And you need to be realistic about work-life balances, although I find sometimes this concept a little laughable, because the truth is most entrepreneurs don't have a work-life balance. They really put all their efforts into making that business succeed. And in conclusion, you really need to understand that you need the change, you need to embrace it, you need to know what your options are, and you need to have some goals that you want to achieve. As to which is a better approach to buy or start, I sell businesses, so I certainly like buying, but the chances of your success are much higher with buying an existing business because it's already a success. And the other problem with starting a business is cash flow comes slowly to you because day one, it's unusual to start making money in a new business. Or if you buy an existing business, day one, you will be making money. And that's my story. I'm going to stick to it. And if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Hey, Steve, I agree with you on that last statement. Everybody says that, you took over your dad's business, so you should have had an immediate income. That's not necessarily true. And the reason I say that is because I cannot, in the insurance business, it's, especially in the Medicare, unfortunately, people die and you got to keep building that book up. Well, nobody's going to wake up one morning and go, oh, I'm going to go buy insurance. You got to go out there and you have to find the business. This week is the first time in 6 years I'm taking a paycheck. So it's taken that much time to get a paycheck. And people don't understand, especially in my industry, when they hear, oh, you can sell insurance and make $100,000 in the first year. You know what? You hear that, run. I mean, because this is not going to happen. It's not realistic.
No, I agree with that. That's what's one of the reasons I like an existing business. The cash flow is there. And the truth is, it costs the same amount of money whether you buy a business or start. People think it sometimes costs less to start a business, but you're not taking into consideration the cash flow that isn't there that you need to support yourself. And when you start adding all those things up, they really probably come to about the same, and in fact may cost more money if you start a business than if you buy an existing one. Also, existing businesses are easily financeable. And in today's world, you get 90% financing. I mean, really, how can you beat that? Now, of course, when you do that, the business has to have enough cash flow to pay the loan and to give you enough money to live on. But that's part of the process in determining which business is right for you and which business makes sense. And it's part of what I'm here to help you with.
One of the
Steve,
things you mentioned was not to make changes immediately
Yeah.
when a new owner comes in. I sort of lived that experience. My beginnings in the restaurant industry were sort of thrust on me overnight. I went from being a business management consultant to running a restaurant equipment factory when my stepfather passed away and left the business.
Hmm.
And I went in not knowing anything about manufacturing of equipment and had to learn the business from ground up quickly and decidedly not to make any changes in personnel or systems, which I could have done, but I did it over time. So it wasn't noticeable.
You really want to do those things over time. It's sort of a perfect example. The business is working. Why are you going to change anything?
Right.
That's why, in your case, you inherited it. But if you go out and acquire it, you bought it because you liked it. Why do you want to now change it around? Listen, if you're really an expert, that's fine. But do understand that people don't like change. That's really critical.
yeah, but Steve, let's say you buy a restaurant, and the
Right.
reason you buy it because the last 3 years they've had declining sales each year, and the owner's like, I got to get out now. Okay, so you buy that place and you got it at a good price because of the sales trends the last 3 years. Wouldn't it be smart at that point in time to change the name to give people a new reason to come to that square footage?
Okay, so you're talking about most people don't buy businesses that are declining. Um, the exceptions to the rule may be what you're saying, okay? Because and then again, it shouldn't be someone who buys especially declining restaurant. That person ought to be a restaurateur who knows what he's doing. Now, I will tell you that 90% of my clients don't buy businesses they are familiar with. Although I'm working right now with a restaurateur, and he's happy to buy both a failing restaurant and a restaurant that's really doing well because he knows how to make a bad one into a good one. And it's sort of what you're saying, Chris. His saying, well, I'll take the restaurant, it's got everything in place. I'll fix it up, make it nice, change the menu, change the name, and off I go, you know? But that's an unusual circumstances. It's a person that has skills. And I'll give you one of my favorite examples that I talk about all the time. I had a client from South Africa. Matter of fact, he's still a client. And he came to this country. And in South Africa, he made gaskets for engines and barbecues. Now, those two don't go together, but that's what he did. And he decided to buy an upholstery company. And I tried to talk him out of it. I tried to talk him out of it because I said two reasons. First of all, what do you know about upholstery? And secondly, in this country, to find people with skills to do upholstery is very hard. 50 years ago, yeah, sure, you could have done it, but today it's hard. He bought it against my recommendation. Within 3 years, business was 5 times larger. He's owned the business now for about less than 10 years. But last year he bought a business for $5 million and I got him 100% financing in the same trade. So, the answer is I'm not always right, but he didn't make changes initially. He really took it over, learned how to operate the business and went forward. But you have to be careful. I mean, it's just fascinating how people do all those things. As a matter of fact, the restaurateur I'm talking to, he was a general contractor in South Africa as well. So it's fascinating. He learned the restaurant business, and again, I tried to talk him out of it when he went into it. Again, what do you know about operating a restaurant? But it's amazing. Certain business people. I think restaurant is probably the exception to the rule that it's a business that unless you are familiar with, you probably ought not to go into. But he broke the rule. He got into it. He understood how to operate it and went forward and so on. So, but he had a little help in this specific case. He bought a restaurant that was a multi-location restaurant, not a franchise, but a location. And the owner wanted to sell off that one, but the owner was still involved. As a matter of fact, he only bought 51%. He needed the 51% because for the visa purposes. So he had some additional guidance, but nevertheless, he turned that restaurant into a much better restaurant than it originally was. So, there are always exceptions, but generally, don't change things and so on. It's a fascinating thing how people succeed and don't. Anyway,
Is it easier to get a loan from the SBA or is it easier to have the SBA finance the acquisition of a property?
yes to both. Banks in general like real estate, which fascinates me. They consistently lose money on real estate transactions. I mean, just all the time. But they seem to think it's much better. They like that asset because it has a wide interest in it. People like real estate and people buy real estate. But the truth is, just as many people buy real estate, well, I say just as many people who buy real estate fail all the time. So, they take that back. But most businesses that I sell do not have any real estate associated with them, and I can get 90% financing. But as a matter of fact, I say, but in fact, if you buy a business that you're already in, you can get 100% financing. That acquisition of that $5 million business, my client did not put a dime into it.
There's another conversation going on here.
Yeah, could we maybe mute?
So, but here, yeah, like I said, I've never paid a thing.
I don't know where the conversation's going on, but
Yeah, there is one.
I know, I have no idea who has that
I think it's Brian. I think he's in Cleveland. He's probably at a hotel.
Oh, okay, Brian.
He just muted himself.
conversation.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Stephen, Do you see any kind of non-traditional type funding setups, like maybe seller financing or even like cash flow based loans, or is it traditionally more your SBA and traditional conventional loans?
It's it, it's that's an interesting question. The answer is I only see SBA, and because 90% of the time in the world I deal in, which is Main Street businesses, which is probably most of the businesses all of you deal with, that's really the source of funding. And the reason is that the way the SBA works, what the SBA is, it's not everybody thinks of the SBA as the SBA giving a loan. It's not giving a loan. The banks give the loan. However, the inducement to the banks to give you a loan is that the SBA insures it. And I think right now it's 70 or 75%. It changes. In bad economies, they'll go up to 90 or 95% insurance. So it's an inducement to the bank to loan you money. And so the bank has much lower risk, and therefore they're willing to give it to you. It doesn't mean that there aren't other loans, but it's sort of the path of least resistance. Oh, and I've always thought about using, depending upon the kind of business it is, sometimes to get working capital, although I must tell you that most of the time in the SBA loan, you'll get working capital as well. But if you are a business that sells a product, so you can get, as most of you I suspect know, purchase order financing, and you can get also receivable financing, which to me are both ways to get working capital for you. And so that's sometimes useful. But usually I can get a month to a month and a half worth of expenses covered in that SBA loan. And that, by the way, that's on top of the 90% they give you. And they finance all the closing costs, which for an SBA loan can be very substantial.
Hey, Steve, do you only do businesses where there's like a tangible building, or have you done businesses like what I do if somebody wants to acquire another book of business where you figure out, what's the value of the business based on the lives and the amount of cash flow coming in?
All the businesses I sell are sort of cash flow based. There's almost never a building associated with it. And yes, I've sold businesses that are like yours, and businesses that sell products and things like that. So no, that's financeable. Now, that being said, not every bank does every kind of transaction. So part of the trick is to find a bank that'll do that specific transaction. For instance, my favorite bank that I like to send to send deals to does not like certain kinds or a lot of construction related enterprises.
Hey,
So
Steve,
yeah.
quickly, can you just tell us the difference between an asset sale and a stock sale?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so when a stock sale is sort of easy. That's when you go to it's exactly the same as going to the stock market and buying shares of stock in a company. The difference is when you do a stock sale of a company, you're buying all the shares. The disadvantage to doing a stock sale, or the reason why most transactions are asset sales, are because when you buy the stock, the liabilities go with the stock because you're buying the company. Right. So it's not only the known liabilities, which are sort of controllable, it's the unknown liability that's really can be problematic. When you buy the assets, which means it's not only the physical, but the intangible assets. Example of an intangible asset is the name of the company. You are not buying any of those liabilities. That's not 1,000% true, because what you need to be concerned with, and I've never seen this, is it's conceivable. Well, you have to make sure that all the assets, when you end up buying them, do not have an encumbrance on them, meaning a lien or a loan against them. And sometimes there could be a situation, I guess. This always haunts me. I'm not sure it's really plausible, but let's say there's a lawsuit against the company, and the judge, there's a finding in the assets of the business were sold before, but the judge claws it back, kind of routine. So that concerns me. But I've never seen that happen or done. It's just one of those theoretical things that sort of bothers me a little bit. Does that answer the question?
Yep.
Okay. Any other questions? No, then I thank you. And by the way, those slides were generated AI. As a matter of fact, what you didn't see is, and I should have done it, I could have read the whole presentation because the AI actually generated text for me to talk about each slide as well.
Oh,
That's going to be
great.
a presentation all in itself that you can do, Steve, on how to generate
I'd be happy to do it, but even the slides that had automation in it, I didn't come up with those. The AI, I mean, I selected them. It gave me a series of alternatives, and I said, "Oh, I like that one," and so it came up.
Was that on chat or another one?
Well, actually, it was a combination. So when I came up with the presentation, it was based on a presentation that I had previously done. I went to ChatGPT and said what I wanted. I gave it some topics and some considerations to include, and I even told it how long I wanted to make the presentation. Now, I was hoping it would actually do the slides. It didn't, but it gave me the content for each slide. I then went to PowerPoint, and I'll show you something in PowerPoint that if you want for a second.
You had to feed in the information though, right?
Oh yeah, but let me show you. Let me show, because so this is PowerPoint. See where it says Copilot up here?
Yeah.
Click on Copilot. Why isn't that working? There we are. And Copilot is Microsoft's AI, which is actually ChatGPT. And you put in what you want in here, and it starts developing the slides. And Copilot, actually, here's what you want to do: replace, repair. It's all sorts of things. I have to go through it with you guys if you want, but it will do everything for you, and it's kind of amazing. It gave me a whole. I started when I have the text. I started, I have a certain way I do it, like my background I use, and I just plop in the text, make some changes, yada yada yada. But then I noticed to the right, it was giving me alternatives, which I've seen before, but I decided to scroll the alternatives. And when I started looking, the alternatives became very interesting. And so I think it was from my perspective, very professional looking presentation. And I'd like to say I was brilliant and I know how to be a graphics art major and yada yada, but I don't have a clue. So that's how that worked out.
Wow.
Yeah, I started fooling around with getting some photos or pictures, illustrations from chat this week, and I couldn't quite get it. So I'm going to try that Copilot.
Well, there are, okay, so chat, there's some things you need to know that you need to click on. It'll generate the pictures for you too. I haven't gotten all that down, but I know that's doable. With Copilot, it's a little different. And in a certain sense, better, in a certain sense, really need to know what you're doing. So one, Copilot exists on its own, just like ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But Microsoft is integrated into each and every one of their applications. And you can actually tell it to do certain things and it'll do it for you. The caveat is that it's the paid version that will do all that. However, they have now apparently, because I didn't pay for it, they allow 3 times a month per application for you to use it to its full advantage.
Nice.
Well, thank you very much for a very informative uh, presentation in two areas, buying a business and preparing a presentation.
Great.
Uh, does anybody, we have next week open at the moment. Does anybody want to venture to do a presentation next week? Any volunteers? Jack, do we have a date scheduled for you?
Jack, you're on mute.
What's that?
There we go. Sorry, I said I went last week, so I'm good.
Yeah, he went last week.
That's what I
Right.
thought.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all right. If anybody wants to do it, let me know. So let's do our intros and then we'll get into that tariff discussion if we get the time. Rick, why don't you start us off?
Hey, good morning, everybody, from sunny, beautiful 80 degrees northern Alabama. It's finally starting to turn into spring, so I'm excited about that. My name is Rick Israel, once again, Lifeline Insurance Consultants, also known as South Florida Affiliated Health Insurers Incorporated. We are based here in Huntsville, Alabama, but we are licensed in 4 states to include Alabama, Florida, Georgia, and Tennessee. So we have clients pretty much everywhere. Our main niche is Medicare, but right now we're diving deep into the group benefits and wanted to let y'all know about a new benefit that we're offering. And I can find out if it's available in Florida. And if you have a group of 25 or more individuals, you could have the possibility of offering your employees a $50,000 guaranteed whole life insurance, no questions asked. Nice thing is it doesn't go into a payroll slot. It comes directly out of the individual's checking account because it's totally voluntary. The nice thing is the premium is based on the employer side. And usually permanent insurance does not go with you when you leave your employer, but this goes with you at the same premium that you got when you were with the employer. So if you have somebody that's not healthy in your with your employees, or if you have an employee who may have a spouse that is not well, the spouse can get a guaranteed $25,000 guaranteed issue, no questions asked. So keep that in mind. But I can be reached at 256-746-9581, as we discussed on the Wednesday meeting. And my information will be in the spreadsheet that Howard sends out after the meeting. Thank you.
That program you just spoke about, does that have to be from one company, or could a associate, let's say, readers of today's
affiliated with it? It's affiliated with one company that is taking the risk, and they test market in certain areas, and it seemed to go very, very well. And right now, I mean, if you speak to 25 people and you tell them it's a guaranteed issue on whole life insurance, and it fully endows at the age of 95, who wouldn't take $50,000? I mean, it's I'm not going to say it's an easy sell, because I would jinx myself, but it goes into the presentation, because myself personally, with my diabetes, I'm having a very, very hard time getting life insurance. And if I work for a company that's going to offer me $50,000, well, yeah, sure, no guaranteed issue, because whole life permanent insurance at my age of almost 55 years old is over $100 a month just for one individual. And that's and most carriers that I work with will only give you up to $25,000 guaranteed issue with a 2-year waiting period. So basically, that 2-year waiting period is if you die within that first 2 years, you only get the premiums you paid in plus interest, and then the beneficiary loses the rest. This isn't going to work this way. This is going to be the full amount of bund passive, because there's no stipulations.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
What's the cost of it?
It's really going to depend on how many employees, because since it's even though it's coming out of your checking account personally, it's still going to be based on how many employees and the amount. So if you have less than 25 employees, then it goes down to a $25,000 guaranteed issue. So it's all going to be based on on census and so forth.
Okay.
Look, when it comes to life insurance, folks, it's location, location, location. That's all it is. The more individuals, the more expensive it's going to become because you have to be able to spread that risk around.
Good to know. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Ed. Good morning.
Ed?
Good morning, everybody. Steve, thank you for the presentations. I liked it,
You're
especially
welcome.
the chat GPT at the end. That was good. In fact, if you look at like when you're typing on words right now, it's anticipating what you're going to say if you do that now, which must be integrating that automatically, like you said. So I didn't notice that, but when you said that, then it dawned on me that's what's going. Well, must be what's going on there. So it's interesting. And the same thing with typing an email. Sometimes it's telling you what you think you're going to write, if I can say it
Right.
that way.
Right.
Right.
Anyway, that's good. My name is Ed Gerton with Seacoast Sales out of Orange Park, Florida. We're an equipment supply company that specializes in frozen dessert equipment. So we have ice cream machines from Carpigiani and BGI, soft serve machines. We have display cases from ESA, GTI Designs, and IFI. We have frozen drink machines from V-Air. We have hot chocolate machines, milkshake machines, and okay, you can reach me at 904-334-4489. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Brian. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Hey, Steve, it was a great presentation.
Thank you.
Very informative. Like you said, capital is the issue sometimes. And then I run into a lot of it at times.
Yeah, you do.
Trying to open a restaurant. A lot of mine are startups sometimes, but yeah, people just don't get it. But I'm Brian with Rogue Financial Group. We are a commercial equipment financing company. I primarily focus on the hospitality side, which is restaurants, bars, breweries, convenience stores, things like that. I work on both ends, the end user and the dealer side. I work with some manufacturers, and what I do is I help them accomplish their financial needs as far as equipment. Equipment could be all different types of equipment. It could be front of the house, back of the house, and I could do some build out pertaining to the equipment. We will work with startups. I do work all over the country. Franchises also. Working on a new program for franchises. So I will work from small. I will finance small to large projects. Again, Brian with Rogue Financial Group. We are a commercial equipment financing company, and I can be reached at 404-723-7222. Y'all have a great weekend.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Andrew. Good morning.
Good morning. Is my whole face on the screen or just my
Yep.
nose?
Oh, that's your whole face.
I'm Andrew Ness of the Concord Grape Pie Company, and we bake and sell Concord grape pies to whoever wants one. We have an e-commerce website where somebody can place an order, through the computer, and I can ship it out to them, one pie at a time, and that's starting to pick up a little bit. So that's nice. I'm checking my email all the time to see if I got a new order, and once in a while one pops up. So that's been nice. And that's not. I need to be doing more and more social media to promote that, and I haven't gotten to where I should be with that, but just over time, I guess sometimes just over as the months pass by, it just the word just gets out there, and lo and behold, you start to get some orders. So that's been nice to see. And then most everybody knows here that, we mostly sell the pies at farmers markets that we've been doing, and that's been a success for us. But now we're switching over. We'll always keep the farmers markets, but we're trying to get into restaurants and country clubs. And I mentioned country clubs because yeah, we had a customer, a country club, came through for us this week, and they placed a nice order of some mini pies. We have regular 9-inch pies and half pies and mini pies, and this country club thought the mini pies would be best for them. And then they also mentioned to me, and I guess I'm going to do it. What about just a one bite size, just a one bite, like you see at a dessert buffet? Um, and so I'm going to make some bite-sized pies and see what he thinks of those. So, yeah, it's exciting and we're growing, and it's Concord Grape Pies. We're adding to the line. I make a gluten-free one. I got some at the farmers markets. You get immediate feedback, and you learn a lot of what the customers want. And I get a lot of requests for, do you have gluten-free or do you have sugar-free? And when we came out of the gates, we did not have either of those. But now I do have a gluten-free, so I make a gluten-free pie, and I'm gonna make a sugar-free. We just get so many requests for it that I can't say no. So yeah, we're growing, and if anybody thinks they personally could use a pie, or you have a connection to somebody that owns a restaurant or a country club or a catering company or anything like that, uh, I'm their man. So it's the Concord Grape Pie Company. My number is 315-651-2684. And email is concordgrapepie@gmail.com.
Hey, Andrew, will you ship one if we pay for up to Huntsville? I'd love to try one of those sugar-free ones when
Yeah,
you get going.
nationwide. Yeah. So I experimented in shipping just to know that they would show up in good shape. My sister lives in Seattle, Washington. So I figure if I could send a pie to her and it showed up okay, that my packaging was okay. And I did. So I sent one to Seattle and it made it. I sent one to my brother in Baltimore, it made it fine. And now the last few orders have been yeah, there was an Alabama. There was an Alabama, there was a Tennessee, a Chicago, and yeah, they show up in about 3 days, and so far in good shape. But
Okay,
yeah, send me the information. I'm happy to send you. Go to the
excellent.
website. Go to the website,
Sure
and
will.
yeah.
Will it ship frozen?
No, I don't. They're freshly baked, they're refrigerated, they're cooled, and then right before I send them out, I shrink wrap them, and that's all I do. I don't freeze them, and I have one pie, the peanut butter and grape one, that kind of has a whipped cream topping. I would send that with gel pack. I would do a frozen gel pack, but no, the pie's not frozen.
Peanut butter and grape jelly pie. Man, it's just put between two slices of bread and just have a good time, right? Peanut
Oh,
butter and
I,
jelly.
it's out of this world. Howard and I,
Yeah,
oh
the
my God.
peanut butter jelly pie, and it's popular.
Look
It's
at Rick
popular.
salivating. Calm down, Rick. No, it's that good. It really is.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Let's go to Jack. Good morning.
Good morning. Jack Spees with Instant Financial. We do two things basically. One, we give instant access to back of the house so they can get their pay on a daily basis if they need. Then we digitize the tips. Since more and more people are paying with credit card, tip wages being paid in cash is becoming much more of a nightmare for operators. So we digitize it so they don't have to have the manual cash in or the physical cash in the restaurants. My contact info is obviously in the email that Howard will send around. But Jack Spees with Instant Financial.
And how do we reach you?
917-273-7701 is my cell. And then email is jack.spies@instant.co.
Okay, thank you. Chris, good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Chris Kaufman, Restaurant All Stars. And since our meeting last Friday, we've picked up a restaurant general management opportunity over in Sarasota, Florida, and still working on the executive chef opportunity up in Panama City Beach, Florida. We work on behalf of restaurant companies, large, small, New York Stock Exchange, big companies, or an independent who's just down the street and has one restaurant because we have access to a database that we've developed over the years, started recruiting back in April of 1981. I'm going to keep doing it till I get it right. And we are proud to be able to represent a lot of good quality companies. And unlike investing in stocks, past results with Chris Kaufman and Company are certainly indicative of future results. And we're proud to say that. We've recently been nominated to be on the Mount Rushmore of America's best recruiters. And that Mount Rushmore of best recruiters is located in a dilapidated Studebaker plant in Gary, Indiana. And next time when I visit Southeast Florida, Howard, please, Terry, please remind me to never argue with your bus drivers. I'm not sure if everybody caught the news, but the bus driver put a cap in two guys, killed them, two passengers. I tell you, tough crowd.
That's exactly right.
It's true.
Tough crowd.
That was a heck of a news story. Anyway, Chris Kaufman, Restaurant All Stars, and you can reach us at 404 All Star 404 255 7827. And thanks for stopping by.
Just think, Chris, they did the shooting there. He got more patients for Dr. Vinny Goomba. He can take care of that.
Yes, exactly.
Tough crowd, you know what I mean? Tough crowd.
That's a tough crowd. That's a tough crowd.
I mean, you know, arguing with
No
the bus
respect.
driver when the fare was too high. Have a seat, pal.
Steve, did you want to give us your contact information?
Sure, I'm Steve Whitehill with Anchor Business Brokers and helping buy and sell businesses. It's not that funny. And I can reach 61376-7500. And my email is steve@anchorbb.com.
All right, Terry, TRN Terry, quickly.
You
She's
know,
laughing too much.
I'm on the board and after Chris and then Steve, you actually want me to say something and be serious? Okay, then I will. I am super proud to say that we had another record month in leads and new openings and people calling and wanting samples and taking the lead list. And I'm talking major national companies. We are thrilled. They have renewed year after year. And the top one fan is the Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association. We couldn't be any happier. Other people get it. We are thrilled. We're guaranteeing 50 leads a month. This is an Excel spreadsheet. I think you all know. If anybody wants a sample, email me, terri@trnusa.com. They come in an Excel spreadsheet once a month. Don't look at the prices on the internet. Email or call me for your price as you're in the group. I promise you, you'll like it. And we do have to get another female in this group because seriously, I'm totally outnumbered. And y'all are so smart and witty. It's very difficult to keep up. And Howard, if you keep putting me after Chris, I might have to just go down to one group. Steve, excellent presentation. I did have a question for you that I didn't ask, but I'm going to ask it.
Second.
Okay, you want to do it now or afterwards?
No, now is fine. Now is fine.
Well, ask away.
Okay, there is a restaurant here in Boca. It was kind of high, a little high end. They recently closed. There was the person that owned that restaurant had a very, very high end car, which he parked underneath the garage and then came out to go to the restaurant. Somebody that I believe didn't know anything about the business wanted it because he could have it. The business is now closed. So my question to you is, you've been doing this a long time. Do you see a credible amount of people that maybe with ego issues that will buy a restaurant with no experience, even if they are failing, thinking that they could bring it up in their own mind, doing something different, and then it works or doesn't work?
Yeah, I'm going to say something that, given the group I'm in, and I suspect everybody's going to agree with me after I say it. People ought not to buy restaurants. It's really a miserable business.
It is. Anyone do it? My parents had one. That's the only reason I.
No. I mean, listen. I'm dealing, as I said earlier, with a client that was a contractor, bought a restaurant, succeeding beyond what most people would expect. But that's an exception to the rule. When people come to me who want to buy restaurants, I get behind two different distinctive types. One is a breakfast and lunch place, and then I like things like Italian restaurants. The reason is people go to those restaurants, don't expect amazing food. They go to those restaurants because I want Italian tonight. And as long as the food isn't awful, it's okay. No one expects great Italian food. I mean, unless you get into, this is Northern Italian cuisine. When you get into the fancy cuisines, they go out of flavor all the time. And it's very difficult to maintain interest in it. I guess that's the term I want to use. I'm not really sure. Where people come back on a regular basis because something else comes out new that distracts them. But when you go to a breakfast place, as long as it isn't awful and the prices are right, you're going to go back. Same thing as they said. So those two distinct different types of restaurants, if you really want to get into them and have the ability to operate them, I'm good with that. But generally speaking, I don't think people want to get into it. They don't appreciate the hours and the work that's involved. And it's also dealing with a lot of people, and that's usually problematic as well, both in terms of customers and in terms of staff. I mean, so there's just a lot of components that are just very difficult. I don't think most people have the skill set for.
So to answer the question, do you see people that you've sold restaurants to that had absolutely no experience and they've gone in and it has succeeded?
Well, I have one. That's the example. But generally speaking, I try to talk people out of restaurants. I know that sounds strange, but unless I think they have the skill set to do it. I don't like to see people fail, but if you insist, I'll sell it to you.
Right. Okay.
I'm not going to stop you. I give you good advice. You don't take it, not my fault.
Well, you're getting a commission,
right.
so
I understand, but I don't, listen, I really go out of my way to give people the best advice I can. If they don't want to listen to it, it's not my problem. Exactly. And by the way, sometimes I'm wrong. That also happens.
Unless you guys want to stay another half hour, we're going to table the discussion on tariffs for next week. So you'll know the discussion topic next week is going to be the tariffs.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming.
I think that's
interesting meeting.
Yeah. Thank you.
See you next week. Let the sauce be with you.